Learn English through story. The Lover's Dilemma. Elena sat in the quiet of her apartment, the city lights casting a dim glow over the room. She held a half-empty glass of wine, swirling it absent-mindedly as she replayed the events of the last few months in her mind. Life had been moving in predictable rhythms. Her job as a financial consultant, her circle of friends, and the seemingly solid, comfortable relationship she shared with her boyfriend, Lucas. They had been together for 5 years, moving forward at a pace that felt safe and practical, the kind of relationship that seemed destined for marriage. Yet, somewhere along the way, Elena had begun to feel that something was missing. It wasn't that she didn't love Lucas in many ways, she did. But their relationship had settled into a routine, a pattern of stability that felt, at times, like a trap. There was no thrill, no passion, no surprise. She wanted to convince herself that this was enigua, that the safety of familiarity outweighed the desire for more. But the gnawing feeling in her heart grew louder with each passing day, a constant reminder that something essential was lacking. It was during this time of uncertainty that she met Julian. They crossed paths at a professional networking event, and his magnetic personality was impossible to ignore. He was a writer, full of ideas and passion, someone who seemed to move through life with an air of mystery and spontaneity. His world was a stark contrast to Elena's structured, numbers-driven existence, and she found herself drawn to him, captivated by his confidence and unrestrained outlook on life. Their initial conversations were harmless and casual exchanges about books, art, and life. But as they continued to meet, each encounter became tinged with a flirtation that Elena found intoxicating. Julian challenged her, made her question her choices, her values, even her very understanding of love. In his presence, she felt alive in a way she hadn't in years. He ignited in her a desire for something beyond the ordinary, a passion she had long buried in the face of practicality. And so, a quiet affair began. It was discreet, unspoken, a shared secret that only they understood. Each stolen moment with Julian left her wanting more, a craving that grew stronger with each encounter. Yet, every time she returned to Lucas, the weight of her guilt would settle heavily on her shoulders. She knew she was betraying him, that she was risking everything they had built together. But the allure of Julian was irresistible. She was caught in a whirlwind of conflicting emotions, torn between her loyalty to Lucas and the exhilarating freedom Julian offered. Weeks turned into months, and Elena found herself living 2 lives. In one, she was the dutiful girlfriend, sharing quiet dinners with Lucas, discussing plans for the future, a picture of stability. In the other, she was a woman possessed, chasing a passion that made her feel alive. But as the affair continued, the excitement she felt with Julian began to fade, replaced by a gnawing sense of unease. The reality of her actions, the hurt she was causing, began to overshadow the thrill. She knew she couldn't go on like this, that she had to make a choice. One evening, after a particularly heated argument with Julian about the future, Elena sat alone, grappling with the magnitude of her dilemma. Julian wanted her to leave Lucas, to start fresh with him, to embrace a life of passion and freedom. But the thought of leaving Lucas filled her with a sense of dread, a fear of losing the security and comfort he provided. She loved Lucas, or at least, she loved the idea of him, the stability he represented. But she couldn't deny the truth that she was deeply in love with Julian, drawn to him in a way she had never been drawn to anyone else. Confused and desperate for clarity, Elena decided to confide in her closest friend, Sarah. She shared everything of the affair, her feelings for Julian, her fears about leaving Lucas. Sarah listened in silence, her face a mixture of shock and sympathy. When Elena finished, Sarah took a deep breath and offered a perspective that Elena hadn't considered. "Look, Elena," Sarah said gently, "I know you're feeling torn, but you need to be honest with yourself. You can't have it both ways. If you stay with Lucas out of guilt or fear, you're not being fair to him. But if you leave him for Julian, you need to be sure it's what you really want and not just a reaction to your restlessness." Her words hit Elena like a punch to the gut, forcing her to confront the reality she had been avoiding. She couldn't keep living in this limbo, couldn't keep hurting Lucas and deceiving herself. She realized she had to make a decision, to choose between the safe love she shared with Lucas and the passion that Julian offered. That night, Elena returned home to find Lucas waiting for her. There was a look of concern on his face, a quiet sadness that hinted he already knew something was wrong. He asked her if everything was okay, his voice filled with genuine care, and in that moment, Elena felt her heart break. She couldn't lie to him any longer. She couldn't keep pretending. With a trembling voice, She confessed everything at the affair: her feelings for Julian, her uncertainty about their future. She expected anger, expected him to shout or leave, but instead, Lucas listened quietly, his face a mixture of pain and sorrow. When she finished, he sat in silence for a long time, as though processing the enormity of her words. Finally, he spoke, his voice heavy with emotion. "Elena, I've loved you for years. I thought we were building a life together. I knew things had changed, but I never imagined a broken bar." His voice trailed off, and she could see the tears in his eyes, a sight that shattered her. Elena knew then that she had hurt him in a way that could never be undone. She wanted to apologize, to promise that she would make things right, but she knew it was too late for words. She had made her choice, even if she hadn't realized it at the time. Her actions had spoken louder than any apology could. In the weeks that followed, Elena moved out, leaving the life she had built with Lucas behind. She and Julian tried to make a life together, but the initial thrill of their relationship soon faded, replaced by a sense of unease that she couldn't shake. She began to see sides of him that she had overlooked in the excitement of their affair: his impulsiveness, his jealousy, his lack of stability. The qualities that had once drawn her to him now seemed like flaws, reminders of the life she had sacrificed. As time went on, the relationship grew strained, burdened by the weight of unspoken regrets and lingering doubts. Julian wanted her to embrace his world, to abandon the structure and predictability that she had once valued. But Elena found herself longing for the comfort and security she had left behind, for the quiet stability that Lucas had offered. She realized, with a painful clarity, that she had traded one prison for another, that her pursuit of passion had led her down a path of disillusionment and regret. One evening, after a particularly bitter argument with Julian, Elena found herself standing alone in her empty apartment, surrounded by the remnants of a life she barely recognized. She felt lost, adrift in a sea of choices and consequences, wondering how she had ended up here. She thought of Lucas, of the love they had shared, the life they had built, and felt a pang of sorrow, a longing for the simplicity and security she had once taken for granted. Desperate for closure, she reached out to Lucas, asking to meet. He agreed, and they met in a quiet cafe copyright, a place they had frequented in happier times. The sight of him, sitting across from her, brought a rush of memories, a reminder of everything she had lost. They spoke quietly, exchanging polite words, both careful to avoid the subject that hung heavily between them. Finally, Elena mustered the courage to speak. "Lucas, a broken bar. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't change anything, but I need you to know that I regret what I did. I made a mistake, and I'm sorry for all the pain I caused you." Lucas looked at her, his face unreadable, before he finally spoke. "Elena, I loved you. I would have done anything for you. But you made your choice, and I've had to make mine. I've moved on, or at least, I'm trying to." His words cut her deeply, a painful reminder of the consequences of her actions. She wanted to ask him if he could ever forgive her, if there was any chance of reconciliation, but she knew it was a selfish hope, a way of trying to erase the guilt that haunted her. As they parted ways, Elena felt a sense of finality, a recognition that some choices, once made, could never be undone. She returned to her empty apartment, realizing that she had lost not only Lucas, but a part of herself in the process. The passion she had chased, the thrill of the forbidden, had cost her dearly, leaving her with nothing but regrets. In the years that followed, Elena worked to rebuild her life, to find peace within herself. She threw herself into her career, focusing on her own growth and happiness, learning to be content with her own company. She found new friendships, cultivated new interests, and slowly, the pain of her past choices began to fade. But there was always a lingering sadness, a quiet ache that reminded her of the life she had once had, the love she had lost. She knew she could never undo the past, but she had learned from it, had come to understand the importance of honesty, of loyalty, of staying true to oneself. Her story became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of chasing forbidden desires, of the price of sacrificing love for passion. She had learned, through painful experience, that true happiness could only be found by embracing life with authenticity and integrity, by building relationships on a foundation of trust and understanding. And though she would always carry the weight of her mistakes, Elena found a quiet strength in her journey, a resilience that allowed her to move forward, wiser and more self-aware, forever changed by the lessons of her past. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you enjoyed, then please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.